The decisions that you make come off of what you believe. So you have to first change that belief by gaining the awareness of what you are truly believing in the first place, in order to recognize that it isn't aligned with where you're trying to go in life and who you're trying to become, to then go back and reverse engineer your self-concept. Okay, hey, it is Deidre. Welcome back to Monday's Read and Reflect. And today we are going to be covering some of the Neville Goddard collection. This book will be linked below. They do have separate portions of them, like the Power of Awareness, that you can get separately, but this is essentially my Bible and what has brought me to greater awareness of self, understanding the consciousness and how consciousness is our power. And that is what we are going to focus on today, is understanding how our consciousness of awareness is our power to create the life that we want, create the experiences that we desire, and create happiness, freedom, and joy as much as we desire. And of course, we're not going to go too deep into the law of balance, because you have to understand what low is to appreciate the high, but we're not going to get into that. We want to grasp the understanding of consciousness and awareness and how those are our superpowers in creating the life we desire. So go ahead and subscribe. Again, this is Deidre. This is Decide to Succeed, Mondays Read and Reflect, where I share books and read and reflect with you all on how they've impacted me, what I get from them, and kind of interpret it in my perspective, so that maybe my perspective will resonate with you and you can further yourself on your authentic path and live the life you truly desire. So let's go ahead and get into our Read and Reflect, Neville Goddard. We're going to start with the first section, which is At Your Command. Today's focus is your consciousness is your power. Your consciousness is your power. So first we are starting with the At Your Command. We are referring to your consciousness, okay? And I want to start this Read and Reflect from this portion on page 6. So as you grab your copy, you will have this available to you. Consciousness is the resurrecting power, resurrecting that which man is conscious of being. Man is ever outpicturing that which he is conscious of being. This is the truth that makes man free, for man is always self-imprisoned or self-freed. And of course, self-freed is what we are desiring, is why we are doing the work that we're doing here on Decide to Succeed. This is our self-development. This is gaining awareness. This is understanding your conscious mind and the power of your subconscious mind as well. And Neville Goddard is one of the main virtual mentors that have really brought me to and through a greater sense of awareness, a greater sense of self, a greater higher concept of self, which has reflected in the life that I am experiencing. So with that being said, I want to continue on, because consciousness paired with awareness is where the power is amplified. In the awareness of being, all things are possible, he said. You shall decree a thing and it shall come to pass. This is decreeing, rising in consciousness to the naturalness of being the thing desired. So rising to the naturalness of being the thing desired. This can be translated to matching the frequency of the thing desired, raising your concept of who you are to match the thing that you're desiring. So when we talk about consciousness as far as the AP philosophy and the AP framework here that I've created, consciousness for us here is whenever you say I am, that is what you are essentially referring to. When you say I am, that is who you are. You're not your name, you're not where you're from, you're not your nationality, etc., etc. When you say I am is this idea of your beingness. So it's when you say I am, it's connected to your beingness, and your beingness is what you relate to and what shines out to the world. So your beingness, when you say I am, it is also what you believe. If you say I am I am hot right now, or I am cold. It's you recognizing what you are experiencing within your soul, your spirit, your mind, your vibrational energy, etc. Is the way I look at it, so that hopefully you can understand it in that capacity. He continues on to say, you are at this very moment drawing into your world that which you are now conscious of being. So I talked about this before, how we have this library of concepts, but if you don't have an awareness of XYZ concept, you can't become XYZ concept, because you have to first have the awareness of it, and you can only be what you are aware of. And this is what he's referring to. So when he's referring to your consciousness and saying that it is at your command, it is at your command once you have the awareness of that which you are desiring to be and who you are within when you say I am, right? Okay, there's so many things I want to cover, so I kind of want to go through this quickly. So hope you guys are following along. Hit the like if you are following along, if you're still here, and if you are yearning and searching for a new concept of life. If you feel stuck, if you feel like something's not making sense about life, I need a bigger concept. This is what we're doing today and every day. Okay, so he continues on page 8. For your conviction of yourself, your opinion of yourself will determine your expression in life. Will determine your expression in life. Not may determine, not it will possibly determine, it will determine your expression in life. So for your conviction of yourself, your opinion of yourself. So what are you deciding to believe? What opinions do you have about yourself? Again, what's your self-concept? Because your self-concept is what creates the experiences that you are receiving and how you are experiencing them. Because some people can go through the same experience and have a positive experience and a negative experience, but go through the same exact experience. If that, are you following? Okay. So to be conscious of being poor and to pray to God for riches is to be rewarded with that which you are conscious of being, which is poverty. So you can't be poor and feel like a poor person, but you're praying for riches, but you can only resonate with being poor. Then you're going to only continue to be poor. You're only going to continue to live a life of poverty. And this was my challenge of developing out of this mindset for a very, very, very long time. And I am still building and developing every single day. So every single day, every single month and week and year, I am improving on my personal self-concept. And as I'm improving and gaining more understanding, I am coming back to share it along the way. So you, whatever you're conscious of being, again, if you're conscious of being poor, if you're conscious of being someone who has bad luck, if you're conscious and that's what you're resonating with, and that's what you're telling yourself you are, like, oh, I never have good luck, I always this, I always that. If you're saying that, then that is what you will always continue to receive in your life. So you have to make the aware decision to change. Oh, well, I'm always I have good luck, I'm always the person who gets the good seat, the good parking, whatever it is in life, in every aspect of life, it does not matter what it is. You have to first become aware of what you are currently conceiving yourself to be, right? What your current concept is, and the concept that you desire, so that you can then make that transition. And you're making that transitions by how you speak to yourself, the thoughts that you have, the decisions that you make, because the decisions that you make come off of what you believe. So you have to first change that belief by gaining the awareness of what you are truly believing in the first place, in order to recognize that it isn't aligned with where you're trying to go in life and who you're trying to become, to then go back and reverse engineer your self-concept. Okay, continuing on, we have identified the Father to be the awareness of being. We have also identified the door to be the awareness of being. to be the awareness of being. So what he's saying is, the very moment my claim is established to the point of conviction, that moment I begin to draw unto myself the evidence of my claim. I am, so okay, so first let me take a pause. Neville Goddard, and I love Neville Goddard for this. So he is essentially taking the Bible, which has been taught and preached in a literal sense. I feel like majority of religions teach in more of a literal sense, but Neville Goddard is teaching the truth of the Bible, which is meant for a higher consciousness of awareness purpose. So it's not a literal thing, it's meant for higher consciousness. So these stories in the Bible are elaborated to help you grasp the understanding of the power that each being has. So he said, I am the way. Not I, John Smith, am the way, but I am the awareness of being, is the way through which the thing shall come. So get the consciousness first, and the thing is compelled to appear. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all things shall be added unto you. Get first the consciousness of the things that you are seeking, and leave the things alone. We talked about this last week. When I say to give thanks, right? When you're wanting to manifest something, you want to give thanks and just let it be. Be thankful that that thing is, and not worry about how or when it's going to happen. Because as you're worrying about how and when, that's the resistance, and that thing will not come until you know for a fact that it already is. So when you know in your mind and your conscious that it already is, and you let it be, then when I say the universe conspires to make it so, ye shall decree a thing and it shall come to pass. Once you decree it and give thanks for it, then it shall come to pass. The law knows no other route. Okay. I'm going to skip down. Go tell no man, that is, do not discuss your ambitions or desires with another, for the other will only echo your present fears. I talked about this as well. So let's go ahead and tap back into a couple previous videos ago, where I say when you're doing your self-development work and whatever ideas that you're acting on, don't go around shouting it or telling everybody, because everyone is not in the in this space, in the mental space, in the spiritual space, in the consciousness space to understand what you're doing. So as you're telling other people, and if they're not in alignment or on this level of awareness where they're working on themselves as well, and they kind of understand it, then they are going to shine their limitations on you, their fears on you, their limiting beliefs on you. So if you've ever had an experience where you say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and people are like, oh, that's unrealistic, that's not going to happen, because and they always have like a backup story. Like, I had a friend who tried to do that and they failed because blah blah blah. And that's what you get from people who are not in the place, and who are not themselves doing their work and have the understanding. And also, the more important thing is, the more you share it, the less power that you have in the thing that you're trying to manifest or do or become. Because the more you tell, it spreads out so that people can seep in their limiting beliefs and their fears. And you want to keep all of that out, so therefore you keep it to yourself and you just do the things that need to be done. Think in the patterns of the higher self-conception concept, right? So if you guys are understanding thus far, go ahead, leave in the comments, I understand. And I hope you are grabbing your copy and digging into this book, because it has so much to offer. So continuing on to page 11. So this is, I like to mark things when they make a very impactful point, and that is why I'm coming back to share them. Okay, so that is, you cannot take with you into the new consciousness any part of the old man. All of your present beliefs, fears, limitations are weights that bind you to your present level of consciousness. If you would transcend this level, you must leave behind all that is now your present self or conception of yourself. To do this, You take your attention away from all that is now your problem or limitation and dwell upon just being. Do you see what I'm saying? When I said, I think I mentioned something about like being still in one of the I ams. Sometimes you just have to be, just be. You're not having any expectations. You're not trying to force something to happen. You're not trying to, think your way to something and figure out all the how. You're just be. Now, I also mentioned this, I think it was maybe a reel, if you scroll back on a reel or two. And I was mentioning how I like to color, because when I'm coloring in my little coloring books or doing any type of art, I do like junk journaling, etc. When I'm doing those things, I'm just being. So all resistance dissipates. It goes away. It doesn't exist. So when you're just being, when you're doing things like that, you kind of put yourself in a meditative state. So if you do meditate and that works for you, or if you have some sort of activity to where you just zone out and you're in a flow state and you're just there being, doing this thing, that is what you want to do in order to release the old concept of yourself whenever you are in the process of developing your new higher self concept of yourself. Continuously putting yourself in a state of flow so that you can eliminate resistance and just be. Okay? So that is one of the important tools that you are going to use to further yourself on your authentic path. Okay? So in the scriptures, again, he's taking these scriptures, he's breaking them down for a higher conscious perspective. The only way to change your expressions of life is to change your consciousness, for consciousness is the reality that eternally solidifies itself in the things round about you. Man's world in its every detail is his consciousness outpictured. That's it right there. I think I'm going to end on that note. This is going to be sweet and short because I'm going to read that again. Man's world in its every detail is his consciousness outpictured. So everything that is within your consciousness is all that you can experience. So when we expand our consciousness, we are able to experience more. We are able to expand. And the more you expand your concept, the more you expand your experiences in life. The more you are able to have things that you may not even known about. Like I mentioned under awareness, how you cannot make a thought or a choice about something that you know that you've never heard of. So if you've never heard of, this box, let's call it the command box. If you've never heard of a command box, then you can't very well have a thought about the command box. You can't very well have a thought about what it does. You can't believe in it or not believe in it because you've never heard of it. So we have to get into the conscious awareness of continuing to expand our consciousness, expand and develop a higher self-concept every single day. And that is through awareness. That is through your consciousness and becoming aware of your consciousness. Your environment and all within it reflects that which you are in consciousness. Again, he just literally echoes, because it is important to understand that, because once you truly understand that all within reflects that which you are in consciousness. So whatever you are in your conscious mind, again, is what you experience in your played out world in this game that we're playing. I'm going to go ahead and read this one right here. He says on page 12, in other words, you can only be to others what you are first to yourself. You can only be to others what you are first to yourself. This is bringing me to where I am, just to reflect a little bit so you can understand why I'm here and making these videos. You're looking at me like, who are you to tell me all of these things, and to give us this framework and this philosophy? Well, you can only be to others what you are first to yourself. I self-developed myself through a lot of things. There has been so many things that I have self-developed myself through, gained a higher consciousness, understood my subconsciousness, and were able to eliminate the things and thoughts that were not serving me in order to build upon my new higher self concept. And this has been, I would say, 13 going into 14 years of doing my self-development work intentionally, and then 9 hardcore years going into 10 years of truly doing this work. Neville Goddard, Ernest Holmes, Joseph Murphy, Joe Dispenza, all of those, Esther Hicks, all of that. I did so much work year after year, day after day. I would spend hours as you would on a 9-to-5 job just doing the work. And then after the work hours, watching more videos and listening to more messages and just reading and studying and gaining understanding every single day and bringing myself through it. So if I can self-develop myself through, and then I'm coming back and reflecting on the things that I did and reflecting with you on these books that brought me to, then I can then be that for you. I can be that your guidance. I guided myself through, then I can come back and be that for someone else. But first, I was it for myself. I was my own guide because I had to do it. There was no one else that I could reach to that understood. I needed to do it for myself. It was just my way. I don't know if it's a Virgo thing. I'm just very self-sufficient in that way. And I got myself to and through. And that's why I'm here, being the guide for you on your authentic path. Sharing these books that have made a huge impact on my self-consciousness so that I've been able to raise it to where I am now and begin to truly, truly live out the results of that work. So again, the Neville Goddard collection, it is linked below. Grab your copy, like, share, and save this video. Come back to it later and share in the comments where you are on your authentic path. I'm Deidre, aka D, and I am your host here at Decide to Succeed, as well as your authentic path guide, and I will see you guys on the path.